Hey everybody, welcome to the Private Club Radio Show, where we give you the scoop on all things private golf and country clubs, from mastering leadership and management, food and beverage excellence, member engagement secrets, board governance, and everything in between, all while keeping it fun and light. Whether you're a club veteran just getting your feet wet or somewhere in the middle, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Denny Corby. Welcome to the show. And in this episode, I am chatting with James Reisig, the GM COO at the Tokeneke Club in Connecticut. And we talk about a lot of different topics in this episode. He shares a wild story. We're talking ATVs, broken ribs, and a near-death experience. He literally puts his life on the line for clubs. We talk about an experience that happened last year with him out in the desert right before CMAA conference, which was an absolutely wild story. But what we talk about is James's knack for thinking outside the box, from when they partnered with a convent for intern housing to collaborating with neighboring clubs for shared amenities. And as a CMAA national board candidate, James is very passionate about engagement, education, and the evolution of helping our industry thrive for another 100 years plus. So this episode has a little bit of everything for everybody. Make sure you stick out to the end to hear the wild story of what happened with him in Vegas last year before CMAA conference. Absolutely wild. So happy and thrilled he is here to be sharing the story with us live and in person. So before we get to the amazing episode, quick thank you to some of our show partners: Kennis Member Vetting, Golf Life Navigators, and Concert Golf Partners, as well as myself, the Denny Corby Experience. If you or your club is looking for one of the most fun member event nights, I'm talking my show is pretty damn good. There's excitement, there's mystery, also there's magic. It's a very engaging and crowd work focused show. If you want to learn more, head on over to dennycorby.com and reach out. Let's have a conversation. While you're at it, head on over to privateclubradio.com. Make sure you are signed up for our newsletter, because I am giving early access to newsletter subscribers for the ultimate club entertainment guide that I will be releasing soon. Head on over to privateclubradio.com. It pops right up, and sign up. Enough about that. Let's get to the episode. Private Club Radio listeners, let's welcome to the show Mr. James Reisig. Did I hear, did you have a big accident or something?
I did. Yeah, who'd you hear that from?
Don't worry about it.
All right. I did.
No,
so
I'll be honest, I totally forgot.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We went to World Conference in Vegas. We got out there 2 days early. So usually a group of me and about 6 of my club manager friends go out. We'll either play golf or sit by the pool, do something before, a day or two before the conference starts. So this year we all flew out. I want to say it was like a Friday, maybe we flew out. When we got there, the winds were like 60 mile an hour winds. It was like some of the highest winds Vegas ever had. Yeah, crazy. So we were supposed to play golf, and I was like, guys, this is just going to be a fruitless effort. I'm not chasing my ball around the course. I'm not that good to begin with, so there's no way I'm letting the wind even further impact that. It just won't be fun. So we're like, all right, let's do something else. So, of course, because I was the one that didn't want to golf, they put me in charge of finding an alternate activity. So I was like, look, the desert's close. They have these tours. You can go ride ATVs and shoot guns. Let's try it. So we went out there. We got picked up by like this little tour van. Went out there. There was 6 of us. We shot guns for like an hour. So much fun. Everybody had a blast. It was great. So then you ride the ATVs after, and it's like an hour guided tour. We had all rode ATVs together before at my bachelor party and other times. So this is kind of something we've always done. So we get on these little tiny ATVs. We're all complaining that they're too small. We're bigger guys. Like, I'm a big guy. Like, I need no, you have to go on the beginner one until we know. I'm like, okay, fine. So we go an hour out into the desert in Arizona. We must have went 10 miles an hour the entire time. Denny, all of my friends were ready to kill me. They were going so slow in a single file line. They're like, what the hell did you get us into? We should have just stayed shooting the guns. This sucks. So I'm like calming them all down at the midpoint as we take a break. I'm like, it'll be fine. Like, let's just get back. We'll go do something else in Vegas. Like, it'll be fine. On our way back, we're maybe 10 minutes from the main site that, we get off and the tour ends. We go down this little embankment. We're going maybe 15 miles an hour at this point. The guy in front of me goes down, puts like a rut in the sand. So I'm following because we're like one after the other in single file line. A piece of red rock comes up, hits my tire, flips my ATV. So I think the ATV is going to fall on me. Put my arms up. The ATV luckily tipped back on its wheels. But I didn't know that when I went down. I hit a bunch of red rock, broke 8 of my ribs in 26 places, punctured a lung, and severed an artery. So I was bleeding internally, couldn't breathe, all these broken ribs in multiple places. So now I'm on the ground in the desert. It's like 5:30. I'm wearing a t-shirt, shaking uncontrollably, fever right away. And they tell me the only way out is either a life flight further to Arizona, or you got to get back in this tour van and drive an hour back to Vegas. So one of the other club managers, I'm good friends with Kevin McGurk from Siwanoy, like helps me get my helmet off. They try to pick me up. I'm like, you guys can't move me. Like I have a high threshold for pain, but like I knew something serious was wrong. So Kevin just grabs me by the collar. He's like, look, I'll do whatever you want, but if you get on that helicopter, you're by yourself in Arizona, like 6 hours away from Vegas. We can't help you. Like, we can't all stay there. You don't have your wallet. You don't have your phone. Like, you have nothing. What are you going to do? And he's like, if you need it, call it. He's like, if not, I'll carry you if I have to back to the van. We'll get you to a hospital in Vegas where, we're all there and can help you. So I call my wife from the floor of the desert. She hangs up on me. She's like, I'm driving now. I'm talking to my friend. I'll call you back. And I'm like, no, it's an emergency, but I can't talk because I can't breathe properly with my lung. So finally, I make the decision, all right, take me back to the van. We'll drive back to Vegas. They come get me in another ATV, get in the van. They won't even bring me to the hospital in Vegas. They drop us off in the parking lot that they picked us up in. At this point, I'm like convulsing. My body's in shock. I can't really breathe. I'm in so much pain. I was sweat through my clothes. So 2 of my buddies get me into an Uber. The Uber takes me to a hospital. The hospitals in Vegas, the emergency rooms are like standalone clinics. So they're not attached to a full hospital. It's kind of like almost looks like a Dwayne Reed. But great facility, good care. So I go there. They tell me after like an hour, your injuries are so bad, we can't treat you here. You need to go to a trauma center. So we're going to get an ambulance and transfer you. But that could take a while. So we're going to load you up with morphine, do our best to keep you sedated, and then we'll get you to the hospital. Okay. So now this happened at like 5 o'clock. At 1 a.m., they transfer me to the hospital. I don't know what's going on. I'm loopy. I have one other guy with me. Take me to the hospital. They brought me to the wrong hospital. They didn't bring me to a trauma center. They brought me to this for-profit hospital that's like one of the worst in the country. I get into the hospital. There's literally like homeless people fighting, who's spitting at who. There's people all in the hallways, no rooms to be had. They get me into a room. I didn't see a doctor for 3.5 days. Like, did not see a doctor. So finally, I was like, I'm going to check myself out. Like, this isn't right.
You're like, I should have took the helicopter to Arizona.
I should have, yeah. That was my first mistake. I should have helicoptered. I don't know why I listened to these club managers, but ended up like being the worst hospital stay ever. They didn't know that I was bleeding internally until it got so bad that I could have died from it. They tried to put a chest tube in after I'd been there for 5 days. My parents had to fly to Vegas and drive me back cross country to get to a hospital here because I couldn't fly. I couldn't do anything. And I was in such bad shape. So my mom's an RN. So she's like, all right, we got to get you to a hospital. We'll start driving back. They came and got me. They gave my parents Narcan because they said I wouldn't make the drive back. Like I probably would have to be resuscitated on the drive some point. So the Narcan would at least keep me alive until they could get me to a hospital. Craziness. So my poor wife is 6 months pregnant at this point, 5 months pregnant at this point, having a meltdown. I have a 1-year-old at home. It was just chaotic. Meanwhile, I'm trying to be like, I'm okay. I can't breathe. I'm pale, like fever, everything you could think of. Never made a day of the conference, never made anything. And I'm on all these committees, was trying to get on the national board. Like it was just a giant cluster. Finally got back here. They can't do anything for your ribs other than tape them, which just makes you kind of comfortable. But my ribs were broken so badly in so many places they'll never heal properly. My lung collapsed like 3 more times over the last 6 months. But otherwise, I'm in good shape. I lost like 70 pounds in 3 months. So
Dr. Now would be so proud.
Exactly. Yeah. So just crazy experience for me. It's been an interesting year. Thankfully, I survived. I'm doing okay for the most part, but
wow,
crazy.
Oh, I did not know that extent. I just heard you
Oh
had.
yeah,
It's just like something like, oh, it was like a tumble. Probably just assuming like I would. Oh my god.
yeah.
And
It
like,
was the
but
worst
now
tumble I've
everything is
had.
good.
What's that?
Now everything is good.
Yeah, for the most part. Like I said, my ribs will never completely heal. So if like if I have my shirt off, you can see these weird marks like where my ribs are, and like you can see some of the breaks in them, which is kind of crazy. But they don't hurt or anything now. Like it's not limiting my lifestyle at all by any means. Um, Definitely not getting on an ATV anymore. My wife told me she would divorce me if I did, so I won't be doing that anymore. But yeah, for the most part, I'm okay. Back to mostly full health.
Wow, that's so good to hear. Wow, the thing. Whoa, all me and my wife watch is like reruns of Parks and Rec, The Office, Kim's Convenience. We have our like funny shows, but then
Right.
it's like 911 and like all
Yeah.
these things, or it's like where it's like LAFD or whatever. Like
Yep.
so,
Yep.
and then like the
It's like
first
a live
48,
episode.
like all of these. So like when you're telling me this, I was like, wait, this is oh my
Yep.
god, like oh my
Like I could,
goodness,
if I
oh my
actually
goodness.
wanted to, I could make like a real life story, like whatever those things are, like Rescue 911 or what are those
You
episodes back
should.
in the day of like stuff that's happened. I mean, I would never wish on my worst enemy to go to that hospital in Vegas.
And for like the high, like for the quality of people who come in, like great, you do have like your, but like you have high net worth people who come into
Oh
gamblers
yeah,
too that you would think, huh, that's
but
bonkers.
not so
Uh,
much.
your title should be like dying to get on the board or like something like for
Exactly.
your
I said
for
I have
your
to have a
good.
catchy slogan here, like willing to risk life or death for CMAA or something like that, for sure.
So so when people ask how you're feeling, you don't say in a rut.
No, no, that's a good one though. I got to start using that now.
Too soon, sorry.
It's okay.
But no, you're. I enjoyed when we first talked. To get to the episode now, um,
Sure.
just I don't know. I thought we had a really good talk, and I think the overarching almost theme was collaboration over competition.
Right.
Um, and I liked and I shouldn't say I don't like talking about like COVID stuff on here, but because I feel like I want to not get past it, but like
Right.
you and your club managers did a lot. Like you did some really cool stuff to get creative, to work together. Um, yeah, can you talk a little bit to that?
Sure. So I think the first thing we did was kind of look at the industry, right? Clubs are unique in part of the hospitality that we're not competing like a Marriott and Hilton would.
Mm-hmm.
While we share a lot of the same members, and yes, we're competing for those discretionary dollars of the high net worth individuals that are our members, Benny, oftentimes we are the best at collaborating. So when we have an issue, we typically go to other fellow
Right.
club managers that may have had that same experience. So COVID was really a time where we got to lean on our networks. And, I've always believed in that kind of cheesy phrase that your network is your net worth. For us, it really did pay dividends to us. And that the first kind of calls I made with the other club managers in town and said, hey, look, guys, I know whatever I publicize or whatever rule or policy I create to try to protect the health and safety of our staff and our members, they're going to go back and question it if yours is different. So we kind of created that the collaborative effort between our club president and myself and the GMs and club presidents of the other clubs in town and said, what do we do if we make like a council here? How about that idea? And let's come out with a singular voice. We know we share members. We know while our clubs are distinctly different in some aspects, we share the same commonalities that we want to keep everybody healthy. We want to keep everybody safe. And none of us have ever been through a global pandemic. So more minds together are going to be a better outcome than, singularly trying to manage this and navigate it on our own. That has now spiraled and snowballed in that I know that our presidents and past presidents are going out to dinner and now have relationships and continually call on the past presidents and existing presidents of other clubs to say, hey, look, we're talking about this with our dues, or we're thinking about this for capital projects, or have you ever had this kind of issue, governance wise that we're dealing with? And that to me is not a threat for the GM. We obviously want to be that professional voice of reason in the room and thought partners. That's just helping to expand and say, look, we're not the only ones with this problem. We're not going to be the only ones to have to deal with it. So why don't we use the resources available to us? And One other unique thing that we have in this area, specifically in Fairfield County, and we have something called the Greenwich Gang, which was started by another club manager named Neil McKenzie. Sounds much more scandalous than it actually is, but it's basically a monthly lunch club. And the GMs of Fairfield County and some Westchester County clubs get together for lunch once a month, and we rotate clubs. And we talk about the different issues facing us, or what's going on in the industry, or things that we see coming down the pike, whether it be dues increases, whether it be a depleted labor market, whether it be capital projects and amenities that members are seeing, or changes in membership. It really helps you bounce ideas off of people in a room that's supportive. You don't have to worry about going in the boardroom and proposing something that may not be tried and tested, or may be so far out that you're going to get pushback on. You kind of have that sounding board ahead of time. So for us, it's really interesting to be able to go and sit in that room and say, here's a problem I'm having. Give me your feedback, positively or negatively, and then I can go chart my course based on my club's individual needs, but knowing that there's a background and a solid group of information and support behind me to justify whatever decisions we do end up at.
I like that. I think that was where I really enjoyed the conversation, that when we were talking about it, it wasn't just like the club managers. It went like a level or two deeper than that, and just fostered those relationships. And the fact that it's still going now is really cool.
Yes.
And for how much I bash whatever that crazy times, it right. Really did bring a lot of people together and kept people together.
It did.
Yeah.
For our industry, I think it was a boon in so many different ways. Obviously, it was a challenge for everybody, and just like you do, I want to move past it. And I think everybody has a desire to, but it has made positive impacts that are lasting impacts too. There was changes that were made there and things that we were forced into doing that now really helped shape the future of our industry and our profession. So there are some good things that came out of it. Now let's use those going forward and not dwell on the past that was negative when we look at COVID.
Yeah. What was with the paddleball courts, or it was leasing? Is the paddleball court?
So our paddle courts are located off premise. So, which is unusual for a lot of clubs. You have your footprint. You may have multiple clubhouses or different locations. We have our singular club location here, but we are so confined because we're in a homeowners association. There's nowhere for us to expand. To make sure we had amenities in our quote unquote off season, which is the winter season, we ended up leasing space at another club in town. We got a long-term 35-year lease where we put our paddle courts. So we own the courts, we lease the space from them, but we have an agreement with that club that they can have some access to our courts, which gives them another amenity that they didn't have without having the expense of having to manage that amenity or purchase the courts. And it also gives us an opportunity to offer that amenity with an additional opportunity to go into their dining facilities. So now we're supporting their club through our membership's usage of food and beverage operations and purchasing there. But we're also giving our members an opportunity to dine when our club is closed and sign reciprocal privileges back to our club. So
that's
just
cool. Kind
of a win-win for both sides. Everybody gets a little extra in the amenity side of things, a little extra in the revenue side of things, and it kind of makes a harmonious relationship work, where something traditionally would be a little bit of a drag to have to drive across town necessarily to play paddle. It's now I can go play paddle and have a drink at their bar. I've never been able to play paddle. I'm a squash player, but now I can try the paddle courts because, Tokeneke courts are on our premise and we have access to them. So a win-win for both clubs.
And your club isn't huge. It's a smaller club, right?
We're a smaller club, 340 member families. We are on Long Island Sound, a small beach club. Typically operates seasonally, so figure we open right around Easter time, we close right around Halloween. So we're a short season, definitely a seasonal beach club.
Yeah. What, I don't know if advice is the right word, but maybe other smaller clubs in similar positions, because it sounds like you're incredibly creative in the solutions that you guys have provided for your clubs, your communities. I guess what advice or words would you have for other clubs in like a similar capacity or resource challenged?
Sure. I think obviously thinking outside the box. I think we've always kind of dealt with in hospitality, those odd requests, whether it be for members, whether it be from a facilities or amenity standpoint. I usually try to focus on the answer is yes. Now, how do we get to that? For us, though, I think thinking outside the box, and like we said, COVID really helped drive some of that. We were forced to do it. Where now is I think it's becoming a second nature of there's other ways to do things. It's not always how we've done it that works for us. Yes, we have traditions and we're tradition rich in this industry, and we have to, kind of stay with those at times. But we also have a chance to chart a new course and explore new things. Don't be afraid to fail by exploring a new option. Oftentimes, you may find a third option that actually is the right one, but you would have never have gotten to that if you didn't take the first step of thinking outside the box, taking that risk, and going for it.
Those what if conversations and just having fun and rolling with it and just continuing. And yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
Have a
one
time for
challenge
that.
that we faced, Denny, which I think was probably my hardest and most outside the box thoughts wise, was we want an internship program. We had a lot of difficulty when the labor market, especially post COVID, really dwindled from a labor pool to a labor puddle for us. So how do we get interns in, right? How do we get more staff? How do we supplement people here? And then I said, we have a small employee housing. It's mostly for our maintenance staff and year-round staff. I don't have anywhere to put interns. So I looked at, do we rent, an apartment? Do we buy a house off premise? In Darien, it's quite expensive for real estate, especially around the club. So it's not something the club could afford. Then we went to kind of the next level. Where else could we house them with our members? And that worked for some of our, tennis pros and things of that nature. Ultimately, what we settled on was there was a bed and breakfast, which was formerly a convent in our association. They did religious retreats, and mostly through the school year. We went to them and approached them and said, look, financially, I'm sure you could benefit from a relationship with us, and we could benefit by using your rooms in the off season. Can we rent this convent out for the summer to put our interns here? We'll take responsibility making sure that the interns are good, upstanding citizens and not doing any damage, or respectful of your property and all of that. Since 2019, we've been renting that convent out and more each year, to the point we're buying out the convent for 5 months, renting it. We're bringing in 10 to 12 interns a year, and it's been such a boon for us that we have these great students now. We have a pipeline to potential new managers and full-time employees, and the convent and the sisters there are getting revenue streams to be able to upgrade the convent and to do their charitable work through the club. So it's a partnership that works well for both of us. But something that if you had told me you're going to be housing interns in an intern program in a convent, I would have never believed you and called you crazy. But it works. It's a tough sell to the interns at times when I'm recruiting them, saying you're going to be staying in this wonderful convent and the sisters are great and they'll make breakfast for you. But it really has worked, and everybody that stayed there ends up speaking highly of the experience there. While not necessarily what they anticipated, it works out for us, and it's been a great benefit to the club and to the convent.
That is good. That is cool. Limitations force creativity, and that's
Absolutely.
so good. That's so good. You are up for CMAA National Board. What excites you about that? And what are you trying to bring to the table?
I am running for CMAA National Board. I was fortunate enough to be included in the slate for 2025. There's so much that excites me about CMAA. I am a CMAA lifer. I've been very active in the association, both at the chapter and the national level, serving in committees, serving on the national board now is just an opportunity to further, I think, enhance my contributions and give back to the next generation. My platform has basically been on these 3 E's: engagement, making sure we're helping bridge the classroom to the club for students and get more people involved in our industry; enrichment, making sure that we continue this wonderful education and the professional development of our existing members. I think there's always room to grow, and leaders are readers, and we consistently want to get more information and knowledge through certifications. And CMA is the preeminent source of doing that, and I want to help contribute to that, as the CCM for me and the CCE for me have done a lot of wonderful things for my career, and I want to see the next generation have those same opportunities from that. And then obviously, as we talked about a little bit here, is the evolution of things. I think our industry is at a crucial turning point here. We're turning 100 years old the next couple of years here. CMA is a milestone birthday coming up, and we've done so many wonderful things in our first 100 years. I can't wait to see what we do in the next 100. We're getting more and more diversity and inclusion in our industry. It's a career path truly for anyone. I think a lot of people had previously looked at it as kind of its executive level management. We're now multi-level management, multi-different career paths, from finance to marketing to food and beverage to rooms to general management, you name it, project management. There's a career path for everyone here. And I think it's also opened up my eyes to see the change in what our membership has been. We've had a lot more women become involved. There's now 30% of our CMAA members are females, which is fantastic. We have DEI initiatives that are really helping change things. The diversity on both the mid-management level and the executive management level is really great and eye-opening. I think we're bringing in a lot more new thoughts, new conversations that are going to drive our industry forward and show that it's a profession that is a noble one and one that people want to be involved in. And CMA is at the forefront of leading that. And so my being able to contribute to that and help provide a voice for all club managers, regardless of your background, regardless of how you got involved in the industry, is really an honor that I don't take lightly. And I look forward to kind of serving the association in that role.
And you come with a unique perspective from, because you came from hotels in the city, and then working in both city clubs and also in suburban clubs. You're also you're a member of both chapters, right? Isn't it like New York City and Connecticut?
Yes.
So you just bring
I was in
such
restaurants.
Yeah.
I was in restaurants previously. I got into clubs. My first job out of college, unfortunately, was the recession in 2008. That only lasted about 10 months. Last in, first out, as we all know, unfortunately happens at times. Went into restaurants. The quality of life for me wasn't the same in restaurants. I always missed kind of that club experience that I did have. So thankfully got back into clubs in the city at the Union Club, which was the oldest club in the country. Very formal, kind of buttoned up club. Business oriented for sure, all male membership. I loved it. I thrived there. It was something that really interested me and further got my involvement peaked in clubs as a career path. I had the work-life balance that I was looking for. The compensation was great. The relationships were something that I thrived on building because you had that repetitiveness. You were seeing members every day as opposed to the transiency in a restaurant. And so for me, that's where I got my first involvement in CMAA, and I was part of the city chapter. I joined the chapter, served as their community service chair, then their education committee chair, and then served on the board. When I came to Connecticut, I transferred my membership to the Connecticut chapter, served on the board for a little while here, stayed involved in Connecticut. Through the pandemic, the chapter managing director for New York City ended up stepping down, had some concerns about his health, wanted to spend more time with his family. They asked would I serve in that capacity to help bridge the gap to their next one. So I volunteered to do so, went back to the city, kind of maintained dual membership in both chapters, and have since stayed that way. I'm a member of both chapters, no longer the managing director of the city anymore, but I'm back on the city board as the secretary treasurer and try to attend as much as I possibly can in Connecticut as well, because it's a fantastic chapter and former chapter of the year just a couple years ago. So I'm one of those unique individuals that does have multiple chapter membership there and try to stay involved in as many as I possibly can. I'm certainly no Randy Reuter, who's probably a member of almost every chapter in the industry, but trying to at least stay active as much as possible in our geographical area here.
And the big question, why should people vote for you?
No worries to put me on the spot there, Denny. Huh? I think that I bring, like you said, a unique perspective. I've tried to volunteer a lot of my time to CMAA in various capacities, from a chapter managing director, which a lot of, I think, the candidates don't have that opportunity to serve in such a role. I've served on the board of a city chapter. I've been highly involved in the New York City chapter, so I understand the city club niche, which sometimes is underrepresented in our association just because it is a smaller portion compared to the country clubs and golf clubs. But I also have the opportunity to have served on multiple national committees. Volunteerism is something that's near and dear to me, and service is near and dear to me. I do think I have a service-oriented heart. I want to make sure that the next generation finds our association better than the way I left it. And so I want to give back as much as possible. And I think that shines through with all of the things that I have done. And while I'm a little uncomfortable talking about myself and trying to campaign here, I do want people to know that I plan to represent them. And I stand on those 3 E's, and they mean a lot to me, as I feel like the association does a lot of wonderful things already, but there's also a lot more we can do in the future, and I want to help be the ignition to doing so. And so I will take your feedback. I will be a man of the people and go get all of that information I can and be the conduit to the larger association and the conduit between the chapters and national to make sure we continue to forge forward and be the best association, the preeminent source for the development of club managers. I would certainly appreciate everyone's vote. While I would welcome the support, there are 3 3-year terms and 1 1-year term. The 3-year terms are obviously very coveted and sought after, even though all the terms are equally important. Yeah, if you would consider voting for a 3-year term, I'd be more than appreciative of your vote.
So when is the voting? How do people vote for this?
Sure. So voting has already opened for CMAA. You would have got an email through the chapter Outlook that gets sent to all members. You can vote whether you're going to attend conference or not. If you're at conference, there is in-person voting that takes place. It's usually by the expo floor. And if you're not going to conference, you can vote remotely using your computer. You would simply follow the prompts that CMAA provides. They will give you a voter ID number, and then you can cast your vote with the directions they give you there. That voting, I believe, closes in early February before the conference, and then in person at the conference, voting will open as the conference begins.
Gotcha. Cool. Easy peasy. As we start wrapping it up, are there any, I don't know, trends or ideas in the club space that you think people should be talking about more?
So I think obviously technology is something that is going to be at the forefront of what we do going forward. We've started to see the impact of AI and all of these computerized tools. However, we're still in the hospitality industry, right? So how do we balance that? How do we incorporate that without losing the personal touch of things? And Jeff Morgan, the CEO of CMAA, recently posted an article to our membership saying, here's 25 different things that are kind of going away in our society. And there's 25 new trends that are replacing them. One thing that will never be replaced, I think, in our association is that human connection and building that network, both with each other as club managers, but also our members and our fellow colleagues. And for me, I think that's something that how do we balance all of this new technology, these wonderful new amenities that can be done, and these things that you can build, but still have that personal touch. It's not the buildings that members are coming to. It's not the events that they're necessarily participating in. It's the relationships that are being built there, the special place that you're holding in their heart because it's a memorable occasion. You've celebrated with them, or you've seen their family grow, or you've built that relationship where they feel like you're part of their family and they're part of yours. And so I think that's the biggest focus going forward is how do we kind of manage that balancing act between both, but keep that personal touch as part of our industry. That's the hallmark of what we do.
100%. 100%. They're all tools, and you can learn to use the tools well or not. Thank you so much for coming on, James. Really appreciate it. And good luck to you. And I will see you at conference.
I look forward to it, Denny. Thank you for your time, and thank you for having me as a guest. It's been wonderful speaking with you, and I encourage you all to attend CMAA's World Conference. I hope to see you all there, and please consider voting for me for national board. Thanks for your time.
Wow. What an episode. What a wild story. James, thank you so much for being here, for being alive. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all that you're doing for the industry. Good luck on your candidacy. And if you are enjoying the episodes, a like, share, subscribe, a review, a rating means the absolute world and costs nothing. That's this episode. I'm your host, Denny Corby. Until next time, catch y'all on the flippity flip.